Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I hope and trust you are well. Welcome to our very first session on web development. My name is Eddie, and I will be taking you through the web development course for this particular cohort. Yeah, so welcome so much. Super pleased to have you here with me, and thank you so much for joining. Yeah, so for those who have not gone through the Q&A, yeah, I can see there's a concern about the timetable for web development. So we just provided one link for the entire day, one single link for the entire day. Sessions will still be 2 hours long. Each and every session will still be 2 hours long. And as usual, you're only required to attend one session. At least one session, You're only required to attend at least one session. So the session timings still remain 10 a.m. in the morning, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and 6:30 p.m. in the evening. And all these times are in East African time. So please pay mind to that. So I hope that one is cleared. So we'll be going through this first phase of web development for the next 8 weeks or so. Each and every week is segmented as per your LMS with different topics that we'll be handling in each separate week. And this will culminate with you coming up with a project, preferably an individual project, one that will assist us to gauge your level of understanding through the previous 7 weeks or so. So for this first phase of web development, you are simply required to come up with a simple, let me not put it as simple, just a website, a multi-page website that will incorporate all the things that we'll be learning through the 7 weeks, okay? So without further much ado, I would like us to get into the class and get to see what is web development, what does it entail, and what will be required for you as a developer in this particular field. So I will ignore your raised hands for now. Please let us focus on the session. I will give you time to ask your questions at a later time. So let us focus on the session for now. So what is web development? Web development simply refers to all actions, updates, and operations that are required to build, maintain, and manage a website to ensure its performance, user experiences, and speed is optimal. So any process that you may encounter for building, creating, and maintaining websites and web applications, that is what we refer to as web development. So it simply involves various aspects, including design, the actual coding, content management, and also server-side development. So that is what entails web development as an overview. And the primary focus of this particular course is to help you as a learner understand that and be able to come up with those websites and web applications. So typically, web development is divided into 3 major categories. So we have front-end development, we have back-end development, and then we have full stack development. So for the front, just as the name suggests, this one focuses on the visual and interactive aspects of a website. What is presented to the end user, what they can actually see and interact with. when they access a website or a web application. And for the backend, this is now the working behind the scene. What this involves managing the server, the database, and any other application logic or business logic. So this one resides in the server portion of typically web applications, because websites are only front end. Websites are usually only front end. It is when you come to web applications that you have that clear distinction between the front end and the back end. So back end typically is where business logic resides, where your databases will reside, where you store your information, how you process information that is received from the end user. And then we have full stack development. So full stack development brings together front and back end development. So it involves both. It involves both the front and the back end development. So you can span various careers in web development, whether it is on the front end, whether you want to be just a designer, a UI and UX designer, or you want to primarily focus on backend development, where you get to create APIs, where you get to interact with databases and so on and so forth. Or if you have the passion, you can venture into full stack development such that you can create a web application straight from scratch, including development for both the front and the back end of such applications. So before we go into HTML, why do we study web development? What is its purpose? So some of the main purposes is, and one of the major ones is simply to create an online presence. You create an online presence. We live in the digital age. We live in the digital age. We are no longer in the print age, where people were primarily focused on print media. Nowadays, everyone is online. You're either interacting with something or someone or a business online. And thus the need to have an online presence. Organizations, businesses, even individuals such as yourself, you can have an online presence. Maybe you want to showcase your work through a portfolio. You have a website that showcases what you can do, such that you do not even need to have a CV. You simply give someone a URL to your website that showcases all that you have done, all that you have achieved, and your qualifications. If you have a business, an online presence is very, very important, such that you can showcase your products and your services. For organizations, they can showcase what they do, services that they render to the community, and so on and so forth. For governments, they showcase the services they render to their citizens, and so on and so forth. So one of the major purposes of web development is to give a business or an individual or an organization an online presence. Number two is simply provide information. Provide information. That is another major purpose of web development. You're simply giving information to a wide variety of audience or a huge audience. You can get your information to so many people across the world. And number three, e-commerce and business growth. Yeah, as I've mentioned, we live in the digital age. We live in the digital age. So if you want to grow your business, if you want to grow commercially, then an online presence is also very, very important. Another thing is bringing services closer to people, And here we'll just stick to our main theme. We are in the digital age. People interact so much with things online, from banking to even running errands. We have concierge services online and so on and so forth. So you're bringing services closer to people through web applications and other services. Another thing is simply enhancing user experience. You see, like people in the 19th century were used to a user experience where you go physically to get a service, such as you go to a bank or a supermarket or a shop and so on and so forth. So with this digital age, if you become a web developer, you simply want to enhance the user experience such that someone can do something from the comfort of their home, from the comfort of their workplace, from the comfort of school, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so those are some of the major purposes of web development. And now we come to HTML. HTML. HTML is simply the standard language of structuring web pages. It is simply the building blocks of the web. So let us make something very, very clear. No matter what library framework you might come across, if you are building a website or a web application, you will not fail to interact with HTML. This is the building blocks. This forms the foundation of those websites and web application. So you cannot miss to interact with HTML. Okay, that is the purpose of HTML. And it simply means hypertext markup language. And it is used to define the structure of a web page and its content. And also another point to note, most people confuse HTML as a programming language. No, it is not a programming language. It is a markup language. It is a markup language. That is what HTML is. So that one is simply used to define structure of your web pages. So consider yourself like, take the scenario of a building construction site. You see the way the masons put up the bricks or the stones together, place cement or mortar to build up a house or a building. Those building blocks is what we are referring to as HTML when it comes to websites and web applications. So as usual, when it comes to development, we are going to do this practically. We'll be doing this practically so that we can see what does HTML entail? How do I build up a website? So everyone, let us switch to VS Code, Microsoft VS Code, or your preferred text editor or IDE, whichever you prefer to use, that one is fine. But for the purposes of the lessons at PLP, we usually utilize Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Okay, so let us switch to VS Code. Let us switch to VS Code so that we can interact with HTML and see how do we build up web pages. How do we build up web pages? So before beginning any project, you have to have a planner. You have to have a plan and you need to organize your work, okay? So for me, I always organize each and every week. In a specific directory. So as you can see, I have week 1. That is my directory for this particular week. week 1. And from here, we will be doing, we'll be introducing HTML. We'll be introducing HTML. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, I will give you some time to ask your questions. So let us focus on the session for now. Let us focus on the session for now, and then we will get to address your questions. So during your software engineering class, I'm sure you got a chance to install Visual Studio Code. So that is the main IDE that we'll be using. So just before we proceed, there's one extension that I would really like you to install. One extension I would like you to install. So on your Visual Studio Code editor, you just come to extensions. Extensions is this icon that has a square with one that is breaking away. So you'll come to extensions, and I want you to look for an extension called Live Server. Look for an extension called the Live Server and install that one. It should take a few minutes to install. Live Server. So please install. Please install Live Server extension on your VS Code editors. So I've mentioned, for the purposes of every development session in PLP, we use Visual Studio Code. So if you're using something else, I cannot assist you, unfortunately, because this is part of the requirements when we are going through these particular courses. So the extension is called Live Server extension, Live Server. So please just come to the extensions icon on your left. It is the square icon with a breakaway box. You'll see a search box at the top, extensions marketplace. You can search Live Server there. Once you've done so, please give me a thumbs up. Once you've done so, please give me a thumbs up so that we can continue. Good. Yeah, I don't want to leave anyone behind. Okay. So when you're interacting with HTML, and we are interacting with HTML5, which is the latest standard of HTML. So these languages, programming languages and markup languages such as HTML usually undergo improvement. So currently we are on HTML5. That is the most modern HTML standard version. And that is what we'll be interacting with. So as we've mentioned, this is the standard language for creating web pages. So HTML consists of elements. It consists of elements which are made up of, it consists of elements. So HTML consists of elements, and these elements are made up of tags, attributes, and content. Tags, attributes, and contents. So Elements are what we are referring to as the building blocks of HTML. Elements are what we refer to as the building blocks of HTML. And these elements consist of tags, attributes, and contents. So what are tags? What are tags? Tags are simply used to define elements on a web page. They are simply used to define elements. They define elements. These define elements on a web page. And these are enclosed in angle brackets. Angle brackets are those ones. These are angle brackets. And the tags are enclosed in angle brackets. And they usually come in pairs. They usually come in pairs. That is two. So we usually have an opening tag. We have an opening tag. We have an opening tag. So the syntax is something like this. And then we have a closing tag. We have a closing tag. The difference is for the closing tag, we have a / before the tag name. And the tag name is simply defines an element. The tag name defines or denotes an element. So we have different elements that build up a web page. We have different elements that build up a web page. The most common one being pieces of text. And this one are defined by what we call the paragraph tag. The paragraph tag, which is denoted by P. So a clear example would be something like that, something like this. And this one is used to represent sentences or paragraphs in HTML. So P is the tag name, and this one denotes a paragraph. And then for paragraphs, we have the opening tag and the closing tags. So these ones are the ones that are used to build up your web page. They are the ones that are used to build up your web page. And between the tags, this is where your content will go. This is where your content will go. Between the tags, that is where your content will reside. And as for the attributes, we'll come to them a bit later. We'll come to the attributes a bit later. So elements in HTML, they, as I mentioned earlier, they are usually represented as a pair. The tags are usually represented as a pair. They have an opening tag and a closing tag. But we have special cases where some tags are self-closing. Some tags are self-closing, meaning they do not have a closing tag. The tags do not have a closing tag. A good example will be the image tag. The image tag denoted by IMG is used to define and embed images on your web page. But this one, as we've mentioned, is a special type of tag. It does not have a closing tag. So this one, we refer to them as self-closing, or void elements. Self-closing or void elements. So these ones are tags that do not have a closing tag. They do not have a closing tag. They do not have a closing tag. Okay, I hope that is very, very clear. So we say that HTML elements consist of the tags, the attributes, and the content. And we'll get to see how we can do that in a small bit. So let us see what are attributes. Attributes in HTML simply provide additional information about an element. So if you have an element such as a paragraph and you need to provide additional information about that paragraph, or an image, or a heading, and so on and so forth, anything that resides within your web page, then you would use attributes to provide that information. So these ones are always added inside the opening tag. They are added inside the opening tag. So for example, a good example, let us use the image, and we will get to showcase this. Do not worry, we will get to showcase this. We'll get to showcase the use of attributes. So for an image, you need the source of that image. You need the source of that image. So this source, denoted by SRC, is what we are referring to as an attribute. It provides more information about the image element or the image tag, okay? And simply the SRC is used to define the location of the image that you want to embed on your web page. The source attribute is used to define the location of the image that you want to embed on your web page. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So we will just dive into creating a basic HTML web page. We'll dive into creating a basic HTML web page. So create a new file, create a new file, create a new file. You can create a file in several ways. One, you can go to File, New File. You can go to File, New File. Give this file the name index.html. Index.html. So .html is the extension given to HTML web pages. .html is the extension given to HTML web pages. This identifies a file as a HTML file, such that when it is loaded onto a browser, then the browser understands this is a HTML file, and this is how I am supposed to process that file. So create a new file, and give it the name index.html. Create a new file and give it the name index.html. Create a new file and give it the name index.html. So we've created a new file. The first thing that we need to do in this file is identify the HTML version that is currently in use. And how do we do that? So we do that by the document declaration. We do that by using the document declaration. So the document declaration is this one. This is the document declaration. So doc type, that is the document declaration. That is the first line that always resides on a HTML page. If you are creating a HTML page, the first line of code that you will write is the document declaration type, denoted by angle brackets and an exclamation mark, followed by the keyword doc type, and then followed by HTML. So this HTML, this one is also another keyword, and this identifies the current version of HTML that you are using. So the fact that it is this one simply denotes we are using the latest version, that is HTML5. And then finally, we have the closing angle bracket. We have the closing angle bracket. So this is also another example of a void element, because it does not have, this one usually does not have a closing tag. It usually does not have a closing tag. So the next line of code that we will write is using the HTML tag, using the HTML tag. So this one is the root. This is the root element for your web page. This is the root element of your web page. And this one surrounds every other, or it encompasses every other HTML element or tag within your web page, and we refer it to as the root element. We refer to that as the root element. Next, we have the head section. Next, we have the head section. I hope we are together. Next, we have the head section. Next, we have the head section. So the head section, this one contains meta information. What is meta information? We simply define that as information about information. That is how it is defined, meta information. It is information about information. And this is simply information about your web page. Information about your web page. What does your web page entail? So this is things like the title of your web page. We have links to external resources and so on and so forth. So the head section simply provides information about your web page. So this is where you will find things like your title. The title is the most common one. The title is the most common one. And the title is the one that appears on the browser. On the browser tab, when you load a web page, the title is the one that appears on that browser tab, giving a title to that particular web page that you are visiting. So we can give our web page a title and call it My First Web Page. Call it My First Web Page. Call that My First Web Page. So we say the head section gives information about your web page. It gives information about your web page. That is the purpose of the head section. That is the purpose of the head section. So we have things like your meta tags. Meta tags will appear here. Meta tags will appear here. Meta tags are also void elements. They do not have closing tags. Meta tags will appear here. So meta tags are used to also to provide information about your web page. Meta tags are used to provide information about your web page. A common meta tag would be something like the description. So description, sorry. And for that, we use the name attribute. Use the name attribute. And then we can have the content attribute here and say, this is a simple HTML web page. As simple as that. So as you can see, the head section, you just provide information about your web page. So this is where you'd even put things like the author and so on and so forth. But as time continues, we'll be interacting with different meta tags in order to enrich our web pages. So this is only the first class. We'll add more as we continue. And finally, on our last section of our basic structure of a HTML page, have the body. We have the body section, the body section. And this is also another important section of your web page, simply because this one contains all visible content. Every visible content on your web page is placed on the body section. Every visible content on your web page is placed on the body section. So your images, your paragraphs, every content that you can think of, your forms, your tables, each and every other content, that one is placed. If you want it to be visible, you place it within the body section of your web page. You place it within the body section of your web page. Okay, so we will do a very simple let us just do a paragraphs. Let us see how it looks like and say this is a paragraph web page. As simple as that. This is a paragraph on my first web page. This is a paragraph on my first web page. So we'll save that file. We will save that file. Save that file. And now we are going to launch this file in a web browser. So on your Explorer, the Explorer is the first icon. Not the first, this is the second one. After the menu bar, the first icon on your left, that is the Explorer. Just right click on the file, and if you installed the live server extension, we are going to click on open with live server. Open with the live server. Open with the live server. So if you open with the live server, put this here. If you open with the live server, this will open your web page on your default browser, whichever browser that you're using, be it Chrome, Brave, Firefox, Edge, Opera, any browser that is your default browser, that will open the web page. And as you can see, I hope it is visible. As you can see, we have our paragraph. This is a paragraph on my first web page. And on the tab, on the browser tab, you have, on the browser tab, you have the title of your web page, my very first web page. My very first web page. So I will open the chats. For any of your questions before we can proceed to the next section. I'll open this chat shortly. So if you've managed to create and launch your first web page, when I open the chat, please reply with a thumbs up. And if you have any question, please post it there so that I can attend to it. Very good. Very good for those who have done. Very good. Chelsea, to indent on VS Code, you simply use the tab key. If you need to indent your code, simply use the tab key. Simply use the tab key if you need to indent. If you need to indent the file, your code, please simply use the tab key. Very good, and congratulations for those who are able to launch their web page. For those who are able to launch their web page, congratulations on launching your very first web page. You should be proud of yourself. You should be very, very proud of yourself. Okay. Repeat, repeat. I'm seeing repeat, repeat. It's appearing so much. Repeat, 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 repeat. So if your extension is not working, if the live server extension is not working, you may need to relaunch your VS Code. You may need to relaunch it. So just close it and open it up again, and then you can try launching your file afresh. So there are various ways in which you can launch your file. There are various ways in which you can launch your file. Number one, we've shown how you can use you can use the live server. One, we've shown how you can use the live server. Two, the second way in which you can launch your file is by simply pressing F5. You can press F5 on your keyboard. You can press F5 on your keyboard. And once you press that, a dialog box will pop up. A dialog box will pop up, and you should see a list of options. And at the very top, you will see a list of your browsers. So for me, I have Chrome and Edge. You can select whichever you prefer. And once you do that, let me select Edge now. Once you do that, oh, unable to attach browser. Okay, seems my Edge browser is not available. So I just launch it via Chrome again. So once you press F5, then your web page will be launched on your preferred browser. So that is the second way. The third way in which you can do that, just simply open your file explorer. Simply open your file explorer. Open your file explorer where you have saved your work. Remember, that one is your own prerogative where you save your work. So open your file explorer where you've saved your work. Mine is here. And on the file you've created, simply double click on that file. It will open on your default browser. So those are three ways in which you can open the file. So I will give another rundown of what we've gone through for those who are a bit lost. For those who are a bit lost, we'll go through what we have just gone through for your benefit, okay? Yeah, so where were we? Let me close this. So here we were. So as we've mentioned, HTML is the building blocks of any web page. So regardless of the libraries and frameworks that you know, I'm sure someone has a question, React and any other library or framework that you've come across. Regardless of that, you will need to know and understand and interact with the HTML markup language if you want to become a pro in also those libraries and frameworks. The basics are always important. I usually tell my students that get to know the language. What is a markup language or programming language? So that you are a competent developer. Do not learn a framework or a library. You will be limited to only that particular framework or only that particular library. So get to know the actual language, understand it, and you'll become a very, very good programmer and developer. Okay, so let us get to it. So HTML is the building blocks of a web page. And what is HTML made up of? HTML is made up of elements, and these elements are what define the structure of your web pages. And what are elements made up of? The elements are made up of tags, attributes, and content. Elements are made up of tags, attributes, and content. So we've mentioned that tags define elements. Tags define elements. Tags define elements. And tags are surrounded by angle brackets. Tags are surrounded by angle brackets. This is what we refer to as an angle bracket, this one here. We have an opening and a closing angle bracket. This one in mathematics, this is less than, the less than symbol, and this is the greater than symbol. But here we refer to them as angle brackets. We refer to them as angle brackets. So for tags, we say they're surrounded by angle brackets. And within the angle brackets, we have the tag name. So the tag name will define an element in HTML. And the tag name will define an element in HTML. And usually, tags come in pairs. Usually, keyword usually, they come in pairs so that you have an opening tag. Let me just highlight this. Sorry. You have an opening tag. You have an opening tag and a closing tag. Usually that is how tags are represented. Usually that is how tags are represented. And we've said the most common tag, one of the most common tags is a paragraph tag. And this one defines a sentence. If you want to define a sentence within your web page or a paragraph or a piece of text, then you use the paragraph tag that is denoted by P. So we have that is our example. And between the tags, that is where our content will reside. Between the tags, that is where our content will reside. So for the not usual, for the unusual tags, we've defined them as self-closing. Self-closing in that they do not have closing tags, or we define them as void elements. These ones are tags that do not have closing tags. So a good example will be the one that is used to embed images on your web page. A good example is one that is used to embed images on your web page. And this one is denoted by IMG. IMG. That one is the one that is used to embed images on your web page. And they are defined as self-closing or void, self-closing tags, or void elements. Self-closing tags or void elements, okay? And finally, we come to attributes. Attributes, we've mentioned these provide information about elements. Attributes provide information about element, or simply put, they define characteristics. They define characteristics of elements. That is the purpose of attributes. That is the purpose of attributes. We gave here an example of the source attribute denoted by SRC that simply defines the location of an image when you are embedding an image on your web page. When you're embedding an image on your web page. So we've seen what makes up a HTML element, the tags, the content, and the attributes. Now we come to create and define a simple web page or website structure, a simple web page structure. using HTML. And we say the very first thing that you need to do is when you create your file, you must give it the .html extension. That one identifies that file as a HTML file. It identifies that file as a HTML file. The HTML extension identifies that as a HTML file, okay? And once you've created the file, the very first line of code that you are going to write is the document declaration or the doc type declaration. So this one simply tells the web browser the version of HTML that is being used, the version of HTML that is being used. And once the browser understands the version that is being used, then it can properly render or display that web page, okay? So just like the same way you need some type of information in order to do a particular activity, that is the same thing we are doing for the browser. We are simply informing it that we are using this type of HTML, this version of HTML, so that the browser knows I have received version 5, I have received version 4. So this is how I am going to display this particular web page. That is the purpose of line number 1. That is the purpose of line number 1, okay? So we've said that one is denoted by the opening angle bracket followed by an exclamation mark and the keyword doc type. And the keyword doc type. So this one is always in capital. It is always in capital. It is a keyword. But remember, HTML is also is not case sensitive. HTML is not case sensitive, but as a standard practice, we usually define the element names or the tag names in small letters, okay? We usually define the tag names in small letters, okay? But HTML is not case sensitive. If I put everything here, the various tag names, if I put them all in capital, it will still work. But as a standard way of writing HTML markup code, then we use small letters for the tag name. We use small letters for the tag name. So, and as again, remember this document declaration is a void element, so it does not require a closing tag. It does not require a closing tag. The next one, line number 2, the next one is what we refer to as the root element. The root element. The root element is also very, very important. So this one wraps all other elements. It wraps all other elements within your web page and also defines the document as a HTML file. It also defines the document as a HTML file, this one. So we said that one also has a closing tag. It has an opening and a closing tag, okay? That one is not a void one. It has an opening and a closing tag. So we say that one does what? It wraps all other elements and defines the document as a HTML file. Of course, it also has its own attributes, which I will give you as an assignment. Go and find out the attributes that can be added on the HTML tag name. One of the most common one is the language. One of the most common one is the language. And we denote that to English with EN. We denote that to English with EN. Okay. The next section is the head section. The head section, this one. The next section after the root element, within the root element is the head section. So the head section, we've said this one contains meta information. And we've defined meta information as simply information about information. So this one, you provide information about your web page here. You provide information about your web page here. And the one of the most common types of information on the head section is the title of your web page. So you see, when you access a web page on the browser tab, it will give you the title of the web page. Maybe the particular page that you are on, the name of the website, and so on and so forth. So that one is the one that is displayed, is defined using the title tag name. That one is the one used defined using the title tag. Then we have other types of information. We've said you can also provide information about the author. You can provide information about the description of your web page. You can even provide keywords for search engines. You can even provide keywords of search engines such that your web page can be easily identified. Can be easily identified. Keywords that simply describe maybe your business or your organization or you as an individual, and so on and so forth. So that is the head section. And finally, we have the body section. And the body section, this is where all other visible content will reside. Yeah. This contains all visible content. So your paragraphs, your headings, your images, your tables, your forms, they will all reside here within the body section of your web page. Okay. And then we just simply defined a simple paragraph. We defined a simple paragraph. We defined a simple paragraph for our very first web page. We defined a simple paragraph for our very first web page. Okay, so we mentioned 3 ways. We mentioned 3 ways to launch your web page. We mentioned 3 ways to launch your web page. Can you please highlight them for me on the chat? What are the 3 ways that you can launch your web page? Let me see who has been paying attention. What are the 3 ways in which you can launch your web page? Very, very good. F5, live server, F5 live server, and also through the file explorer. Very, very good. I'm glad you are paying attention. Very, very nice. That is very, very encouraging. So if you've been able so far to launch your web page, once again, a thumbs up on the chat box. If you've been able to successfully launch your web page. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Very, very good. Very, very good. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you so much. Thank you. You should be proud of yourself. You deserve your flowers and your a standing ovation. You've created a web page. It is as simple as that. It is as simple as that. Congratulations. Congratulations. Very, very good. So for the live server, I can see questions about the live server. For the live server, if you want to install the live server, we said there is this icon. If you can see my screen, there is this icon on the VS Code page. There is this icon. It's called the extensions icon. You simply click on that, and at the top, you will see a search box. simply search for live server. Simply search for live server. It will be lifted. It should be the very, very first one. Should be the very, very first one by retweak day. Should be the very, very first one by retweak day. So you simply click on that, and if you see the install button, just click on install. It should install the live server that will enable you to launch your web pages from VS Code. So we said you might need to restart or relaunch your VS Code in order for the extension to start working. For some people, that may be the case. For others, it might work right out of the box. So please try every option. And as we've mentioned, you really do not have to constrain your mind to one particular way of working. We've given you three options, as your colleagues have mentioned. We've given three options on how you can launch your web page. So you have the live server, you have F5, and simply navigate to your file explorer, the directory where you created the file, and simply double click on that file. It should open on your default browser. So I hope so far so good. I hope so far so good. You have been able to create a web page. You have been able to create a web page. Maybe we can go through some of the common elements that you can include on your web page. Let's go through some of the common and basic elements that you can include on your web page. So I'll just go back to my file. I will go back to my file, index.html. We'll go back to our file, index.html. Yeah, maybe I can give 1, 2, 3, 4. I can give this for a chance to speak, and then we can continue. Lydia, Patricia, Amos, and Adriano, in that order. Yes, Lydia. Yeah, we'll just give a few the Lydia, Amos, Adriano. Can't hear you, Amos, if you're speaking.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was asking, is there a way which we can a shortcut to HTML, like rather than writing the whole thing, that is there a shortcut?
Hey, you really like things easy. What is so hard about typing?
Maybe we
Eh?
can forget sometimes. We can
No,
forget
if you're a
sometimes.
good programmer, you do not forget. And that is why you practice, practice, practice. I think I'll leave the
Okay,
shortcuts for you to find out on your own time. Okay?
okay, yes,
Yes. Yeah, I'm here to teach the full thing. Shortcuts really mess people up.
yes.
Yeah, I
And
want to
then
teach properly, not shortcuts.
no
Okay?
problem.
Yes.
Yeah, yes,
So
yes.
if you need a
Uh,
shortcut, I'm not trying to discourage you, but if you need shortcuts, I think we'll leave that for you to find out on at your own time. Uh,
okay,
I prefer to teach the correct and proper way. So we'll not be doing
okay,
shortcuts,
okay, sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Amos, for your question.
And then I
Um,
have another one.
yeah.
like about the live server.
Mm-hmm.
In other VS Code, it is on the lower right side. You can click there.
Yeah. Depends on how your Nini is configured, your VS Code, eh?
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. I have Lydia Adriano. As what was that? Asford or Millicent.
Yeah, good morning.
Eh?
Yeah, I have a question on here on title. On my side,
Mhm.
my title came with a red color. I think that's why I haven't I haven't seen the title on my browser. It came with numbers. It didn't come
Yeah,
with.
so if you have a red highlight on your VS Code, if you have a red highlight, that means your syntax is incorrect. Eh?
What caused it? Is it my typing?
Yes,
Like I can't see.
syntax refers to typing. Eh?
But
Syntax,
if
the
I
way you've
check,
typed your piece
it's the
of
same
code.
as yours.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
We'll ask you to share your screen or something before that is wrong.
Okay, it's the same as yours. I've checked everything.
Yeah, I'll give you a chance to share your screen.
Okay.
Mm. As for Margaret,
Hello.
yes, as for
Hello. Can you hear me?
yes,
Okay. I was asking.
yes.
Uh, uh, I didn't get about the index here on top. I can see index.html.
That is the name of the file.
And then, oh, that's the name of the file.
Yes,
What about doc.type HTML?
that is the document declaration type.
Okay. And finally HTML.
Email is the root element.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
No more questions.
okay. Yeah, thank you. Let me go to let me see what Millicent has. Yeah, I've said there's something wrong with your code. Line number 4, where is the closing angle bracket? Closing angle bracket. The very end of line number 4. You need a closing angle bracket, yes. Yeah, so anytime you see a red highlight, please note that there is a syntax error on your code. So it may be on that particular line where the red highlight appears, or the immediate previous line from where that error occurs, okay? Yeah, next, let me give 2 more and then we can proceed, okay? Let me give 2 more and then we can proceed. So, yeah, so many. Time may not allow for everyone to speak, but I'll follow the order in which you raised your hands. Geoffrey.
Hello.
Yes, Geoffrey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Am I in a position to share my screen also?
Yeah, sure. Just a minute. We wait for Geoffrey. Margaret Wanjiku. Kasau.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So my question is just below the head, like what is the meaning of the word meta here down? Chini ya the head, I can see tumefanya kuweka meta name description content.
Yeah, so we say the meta tag. This is the
Okay.
meta tag, yeah?
Yes.
The meta tag is used to provide additional information about your web page.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the meta tag. It is used to provide additional information for your web page. So this is where you like what we have here, our example we have here. This is simply this providing description of our web page. Okay, so you can have things like let me just copy this. You can have things like author. You can have things like author, and then for the content here, I can have AD, PLP, instructor. So any information that you need to provide about your page, then you can use the meta tags. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
as time goes, we will also be introducing other elements that you can use within the head tag. But for your information for now, the meta tag is used to provide additional information about your web page. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Let me go to, I don't know if Geoffrey is ready. And Geoffrey, anytime you're ready, just share your screen. As I wait for Geoffrey, let me go to Dennis Amutsa. And then Jackson, and then John, in that order. John Otieno. Okay.
Hello.
Hello? Yes?
Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning, how are you?
And thank you.
Yes,
So
please
mine
proceed.
is not to ask a question, but I had though I don't know whether you will approve of this, but I had someone asking how they can like make typing easier. So the way to make typing easier is to use IntelliSense. Yeah. So he should go and search what IntelliSense is. Yeah, that's what I can tell him. So the rest, yes, the rest will go to him.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you heard from one of your colleagues. So he's mentioned something called IntelliSense. Yeah, so just look for that in your list of extensions. IntelliSense, just look for that. Hello.
Excuse me, sir. I am actually not seeing how I can share my screen. I'm not
There
seeing
is
anything on my dashboard.
on your Zoom window, there is a very distinct share button with a green arrow pointing upwards, with a green, not green highlight and an arrow pointing upwards.
Um, I cannot seem to see it on my screen. It is not there.
It's at the bottom alongside your microphone, your video, chat.
I only have audio. I only
Yep.
have audio.
You only have?
Audio is what I'm seeing.
Oh, I sent you a request. Oh, sorry. This is Geoffrey. Okay. Join as a panelist and then you'll be able to see that, okay? Yeah, so Jackson, if you are speaking, I can't hear you. Yeah, Geoffrey, I'm waiting for you so that you can proceed.
Hello,
Yes, Geoffrey.
can you hear me? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Now I just because I was a bit late. I just wanted you to maybe guide me through this screen, my screen. How I'll open a file, because I've opened a file on my desktop on HTML. How do I go from here now, please? This is
Yeah,
my
so there are various ways. You can click on File,
yes.
New File,
Yes.
and then type the name of the file here. So index.html.
Yes.
Yeah. Just press enter. And now it will open that dialog box. You can select where you want to save the file.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have to change the name or something?
No, index is the default file. That one is the default file. If you are loading a
File name.
website, that is the
Yes.
most default file. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've created one.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I've got it.
Okay.
Now from this point, now this is where I'll type this one.
Yeah, that is where you'll type your markup language.
Okay.
Okay.
You can see my screen. Now this is the markup language.
Yes.
We start with the head, right?
No, we start with the root element.
Root element.
So get rid of the head. You have to do the root element first, HTML.
Yes.
Just go to
This
the
one
next
must
line.
have a closing tag.
No, the doc type does not have a closing tag.
Okay.
So you'll do the HTML tag.
It's automatic. I don't need to type it.
Yeah, so the first section is the head. And then within the head, we at least have a title.
Title.
Yeah. So you can give your web page a title.
Now.
Okay. Next section is the body. So after the head, after line 7, yeah. So have a body.
Hmm.
Then within the body, you can do a paragraph. So just type any sentence there.
Now.
Okay, so save your file.
That one you can use Control S, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, so I need you to launch your file. Just press F5.
F5.
Yeah, F5.
F5 on my.
Press F5 on your keyboard.
My F5 is something else.
Sorry?
I've pressed F5 and it's not showing anything.
Let's try it the other way. To the left, there's File Explorer. To the left, there's a File Explorer. The first icon with the 4. Yeah.
This one.
Yes.
This one.
Had you installed the live server extension?
Let me see. I don't know if I had, but I don't think I had. I have.
Okay. If you've not installed, it's fine. So there's the third icon, the one that has no, sorry, fourth, just the fourth icon. Fourth.
This one.
Yeah. Can you press that? Click on Run and Debug. Select your preferred browser. So it should have opened the browser. Just confirm.
Yeah. It has opened the browser.
Yeah. So congratulations, you've just created your first web page.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so I think time is far much gone. So if you allow me, I will continue. Let me continue with the session so that I can introduce a few more basic elements. Okay. Yes. Share my screen again. So here we were. So we've seen how you can, you've seen how we can create a very basic structure of a web page. So that is your most basic structure. You need to at least have something like that when you are creating a web page. You need to at least have something like so. So you have your, at the very first stage, you have your document declaration type. So who can remind us, what is the purpose of the document declaration type? I hope you're not sleeping. What is the purpose of the document declaration type on the chat box? Very, very quickly. Document declaration type. Anyone? Very, very good. Very, very good. So very, very good. Document declaration type. So we've said this one defines the particular version of HTML that we are using. Very, very nice. Very, very good. Very good. Number 2 is the root element. What is the purpose of the root element? Number 2 is the root element. Number 2 is the root element. What is the purpose of the root element? Root element. Let me see. Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Very, very good to show that it is a HTML document, to define the document as a HTML file, or it wraps all other elements. Very, very nice, very nice. Yeah, also as a container of a HTML document. That is also a very good description, Victor. Very nice. Very, very good. So that is number 3, the head section. What is the purpose of the head section? What is the purpose of the head section? And I have a very interesting question from Cornelius Sibiu. Before we go to the purpose of the head section, Cornelius is asking, how do we know this is HTML4 or 5 from the first line? How do we know this is HTML4 or 5? Anybody who can answer Cornelius? How do we know that this is HTML4 or 5 from this first line? Anybody who can answer Cornelius?
Exclamation mark.
Not really, but thank you. Thank you, John. But not really. Not really. Google is your friend. How do we know that this is HTML5? Just from this. Google is your friend. Google is your friend, eh? Okay. Anyone? I'm not seeing. Okay, so let me just answer. Let me answer.
Let me answer that.
That, John.
The doc
Yes,
type.
John.
The whole doc type wrapped, the whole idoc type defines it that it's an HTML5.
Not really, not really. But thank you so much for for attempting. Okay, so let me answer. I'm getting so many so many explanations on the chat. Okay, so I mentioned that every language goes through some improvement over time. So currently we are at HTML5. We are at HTML5. We started all the way back from 1.1, we went to 2, 3, 4, and currently we are at HTML5. With each improvement of a language, there is usually a restructure of how the language is written. There's usually a restructure of how the language is written. So with HTML5, the keyword here is the word HTML. This is the one that identifies this as HTML5. This is the one that identifies the version as HTML5, okay? Doctype is not the one that identifies. Doctype is a keyword that is used for the document declaration. That is the keyword that is used for the document declaration. If this was HTML4, then we would have additional information. We would have additional information added on this. Identifying the markup language that we are using as HTML4, okay? So with each iteration and improvement of a language, the structure and the way the language is written also changes, okay? So please note that the structure and the way the language is written also changes. So currently, the way HTML5 is structured, once you just put the document declaration type as HTML, the browser immediately deciphers this as HTML5. If it was HTML4, then we would provide additional information here, denoting this as HTML4, something like that. So maybe you can go and research a little bit about the progression of the language of HTML over the years, and then you will see how the different versions have been declared over the years, okay? Sasawa, I hope that one is very, very clear to everyone. Thank you so much, Cornelius, for your wonderful question. I was wondering when someone would ask such a question, but that one is very, very good. Thank you, Cornelius. At least now the entire class is wiser on that bit, okay? So we can proceed, We can proceed. Where were we? We were on head section. We were on head section. We were on head section. What was my question on the head section? What is it used for? That one you answered. Yeah, gives a description of your web app or a website page. Okay. So, and what is the purpose for the meta tags? What is the purpose for the meta tags? What is the purpose for the meta tags? Just on the chat box, very, very quickly. Thank you, Naserian. Extra info about your web page. Yes. And also I have a very interesting answer from Lucanio Nzanywa. SEO, very, very good. Very, very good. Very, very good. And also from Michelle, SEO. That is very, very good. Yeah. So the people who said SEO, I want you to give the class an explanation. What is SEO? If you've said SEO, I want you to give the class an explanation. Is SEO? Is the SEO? Search engine optimization. What is it? What is it? That is just a definition. What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? Anyone who said SEO, I want you to give us an explanation. What is it? Very good. Chelsea, Michelle, very, very nice. Practice of improving our website visibility and ranking in search engine result pages. Very, very good. Very good. Very good. Very, very good. Yeah, I think there's additional information on the LMS on that particular topic. In the interest of time, I don't think I'm going to cover it here, but very, very nice, very nice. So we move on, body section. What have we said? Body section, eh? What is the purpose of the body section? What is the purpose of the contains content? Yes, any other visible content on your web page is defined within the body section. So very, very good. I'm glad and happy to hear and see that you are attentive. That is very, very encouraging. Yeah, so I think we have around 15 minutes or so before the end of the session. So let us go through some of the common elements, We've already seen a paragraph. Another common element is the headers. Another common element is headers. Not headers, sorry, headings. There's a distinction, by the way. It's headings. Yeah. Another common element is headings. So just as the name suggests, these ones are used to define headings within your web pages. And they are denoted by the tag name H, followed by a level. And the levels span through H1 to H6. H1 to H6. They span through H1 to H6. So we can do H1. I can say my website heading. I can say my website heading. I can do H2. Let me just do H3. Let me do H3 and H6. I can do another heading. And finally, I can do H6 so that we can see the different sizes. Say the last heading. So headings are used to, just as the name suggests, they are used to define headings within your web pages. So if you have pieces of text, paragraphs, and you need to highlight a heading, then you can use the headings tag. And the headings tags are denoted by H, followed by a level. And the levels span from 1 to 6, 1 being the largest, 6 being the smallest. So we can save this, and go back to our browser. We can save this and go back to our browser. Yeah, my screen is visible. My screen is visible. Yeah, so you can see the difference between the sizes. So my website heading, that one is H1. It is very, very large. This is H3 and the last one is H6, the smallest heading level. Okay, so that is how you can define headings on a web page. Another common element that maybe you might come across is images part of this session or the next one? I think images is part of the next session. Okay. Maybe we can have a look at links. or hyperlinks. We can have a look at links. We can have a look at links. So links in HTML, links in HTML. Let us focus, let us leave the, the chat box for now. I can see even people talking about Python. Hey. Hey, can we focus? Links or hyperlinks, these ones are created using the anchor tag. Anchor tag is denoted by A. The anchor tag is denoted by A, and that is how you define a link. So these ones are used simply to help users navigate between web pages. So if you have multiple web pages on your website or web application, then you use links you provide links for your users in order for them to navigate from one page to another, or from one section to another section on your web page, or from your website to an external website. Okay, so the anchor tag takes up one very special attribute, and this is the href attribute. The href attribute, and this one simply is used to define the location of the destination. You define the destination of where you want to navigate your user to. So for example, let us do an external navigation. We can do an external navigation. So keep it very simple. Let us navigate to Google, the Google homepage. And for the content, I will say visit google.com. Save my file. Where's my browser? Yeah. So just reload my browser. And there I have my hyperlink. There I have my hyperlink. There I have my hyperlink. And on clicking on this, it should navigate me to the Google homepage. So that is the purpose of the anchor tag. That is the purpose of the anchor tag. So we've said, one, you can navigate users to different sections within your web page. Two, you can navigate users to other pages within your website or web application. And three, you can navigate users away from your website or web application to an external website, just like what we have done. Just like what we have done. So those are some of the basic, very basic elements that you will come across. I think we'll be covering images next week. Yeah, I think we'll be covering images next week. Maybe just for a few minutes, I introduce another very important element. Very, very important element called semantic HTML elements. Semantic HTML elements. Just before we leave, maybe I can introduce this one very quick. So semantic HTML elements, these are simply elements, HTML elements that clearly describe their meaning. Clearly describe their meaning. In that, when I give you a semantic HTML, from the top of your head, you will know you will know what that HTML is meant for. Just from the top of your head, just the way it is written, you can clearly describe that HTML element. That is the purpose of semantic HTML elements. So these ones are very, very important when you are building your web pages because they improve your code readability, accessibility, and also help you improve on your search engine optimization, as some of you had mentioned. So search engine optimization is just a way that your page is ranked in terms when it comes to search engines. Search engines are things like Google or the Yahoo search engine. So the way your page is structured will determine the rank of your web page when someone searches for it, okay? So it is very important to pay mind and attention to semantic HTML. Maybe we'll give a few examples. We'll give a few examples. We'll give a few examples. So I will take these headings. I will take these headings and put them in a header. I will take these headings and put them in a header. Take those headings and put them within a header. That one is an example of a semantic element. That is an example of a semantic element. For these ones, we can place them, sorry, and place them in main. Then place them in main. And finally, another very good semantic element is the footer. We all know what a footer is, eh? The one that contains copyright information and so on and so forth. Eh? So I can say 2025. My website is out. It's out. Yeah, simple as that. So these ones help improve readability of your code, and also, as we've mentioned, enhances SEO, that is search engine optimization, better accessibility, and also it becomes very easy to maintain your code. It becomes very easy to maintain your code because you can, your code will be more organized and very, very easy to update. So that is, I think we can save this. Let me just paste this somewhere so that you can copy. Where can I paste it? I don't know if you'll be able to copy it from the chat. Please feel free to edit out my name as the author. Feel free to edit out my name as the author. I don't know if you can copy it from the chat, not sure. If not, I think somebody can ask a question. I can reply to it. The Q&A section so that you can have, just post for me a question on the Q&A box. You can paste it there so that you can copy it from there. Yeah. Yeah, so Mary is asking, are there any other versions other than doctype? Doctype is not a version. Doctype is the document declaration. That is a keyword. That is the one that you use to declare a HTML version that you are using. So all the other versions are, for now, they are obsolete. I don't think that anyone is even using HTML4 for now. It must be a very, very old website. So for now, just stick to HTML, and that denotes HTML5. So we say information here is usually not visible. Information on the head section is usually not visible. This one is information mostly used by browsers. This is usually information mostly used by browsers. The only piece of information visible here is the title. And this one is visible on the browser tab. That one is visible on the browser tab. Any other information is usually not visible. If you want your information to be visible, you place it within the body, okay? Place it in the body, okay? So, yeah, so the recording will be made available. Maybe give me an hour so that the video can finish rendering, and then the recording will be available on the LMS. Maybe by latest 1:30 p.m. Okay, so you can get the video there. Sawa. And this is only the first session. If you are willing and able and available, you can join us at 2 p.m. for our afternoon session. Okay. I think I will end our session there. We didn't see our web page. We didn't see our web page after adding the footer. After adding the footer, that is our footer. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, I think that is the end of our session. I see our time is up. Just a humble and kind reminder, the content for this session, additional resources can be found on the LMS under the web module. Please also note you have an assignment, you have a quiz that you need to attend to. Very, very important. Remember, at the end of the 8 weeks, we will be looking at not only your attendance, we'll also be looking at your repositories, how you have been submitting your assignments, just your general progress, okay? So please make that a top priority if you want to succeed in this particular program, okay? Very, very important. So do not forget your assignments, do not forget your quizzes. The assignment is very, very easy. I hope you are introduced to GitHub classrooms during the software engineering classes. So let me just, let me open this. Let me open this. So this is your course outline for the next 8 weeks. So once you're done with the class recordings will be here. Once it finishes up rendering, I will upload the class recordings there. You have your additional resources and you have an assignment and a quiz and a survey. Remember, you need to complete the 3 in order to unlock week 2. You need to complete the 3 in order to unlock week 2. So these are your assignment instructions. You have your assignment URL there. It will navigate you to GitHub Classrooms. It is simple. It is a very simple assignment. You're just creating a basic HTML web page with basic HTML elements. That is your assignment for this particular week. Okay, very, very simple. So you'll navigate to the classroom. You'll navigate to the GitHub Classroom. and you will accept the assignment, accept the assignment, accept the assignment. Once you accept the assignment, this URL will be created for you. This is your own URL. So assignments are individual. Everyone will get their own URL. So you can navigate to that. And here you will get your instructions. So create an index HTML file, structure the document using doc type, HTML, head and body, include at least a header with a title, a navigation with links, a main section with text content, a footer with contact information, and so on and so forth. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. So once you're done, you can push your code here. You can push your code here and it will be recorded on the GitHub Classroom. And I will receive a notification for each and every completed assignment. Okay, so yeah, I think that is it. That is it. I think that is it. I think that is it. Yeah, I think that is it. That is it. So yeah, you can always reach me. You can always reach me on email, ad@powerlearnprojects.org. No, this is it's Project Learn Africa. Sorry, ad@powerlearnprojectsafrica.org. If you have any issue and you need to reach me, you can reach me on email. I think we'll create, I'll create a WhatsApp group. I'll create a WhatsApp group and share that so that we can also be interacting for things that are quite urgent. Other than that, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. You have been very, very amazing. I hope you got to learn something. I hope you got to learn something. And yeah, remember, being a good developer involves a lot of practice, You learn something every day. You learn something every day. So please, 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 please do your own research, do your own extra reading so that you might become a competent developer. So it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. It was a real pleasure. And you guys are obsessed with music. I'll create a playlist. What type of music do you listen to?
Eddie.
What type of music do you listen to?
Eddie, before you leave, I have a question.
Sorry? Kegosho. Mapangale. We must be universal. Remember, we have a variety of learners from across the continent, so we must be neutral. But otherwise, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next time, I will make sure I have a playlist for you guys. I hope you got to learn something. We usually give a deadline of 1 week for the assignments. Currently, it is not there, but usually assignments deadline is 1 week. You have at least 1 week to go through the assignment and complete it. Tomorrow, I think you're having your Python class. I'm not sure. You can check on your timetables, but we will be meeting next week. We'll be meeting next week for, what is this? What is this? What are we meeting for? next week. Yeah, next week we'll be doing advanced HTML. That will be forms, tables, images, and see how we can tackle that, okay? So thank you so much for your time. Allow me to end the session there. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.